Hey guys, it's Lavetta.
And it's Miriam.
And this is the Notorious Women Podcast, a comedy podcast about some of history's most notorious women.
That's right. Hey.
Yes. How are you doing this week?
Listen, I'm really tired, but it's okay. I just spent Thanksgiving with like mi familia. And mi familia, I don't know why I'm phrasing it that way. I don't know. Because I'm tired. Every one of my family members, like they're night owls, and all of our kids are now old enough. Like, it's definitely past their bedtime, but like it's fine. And so listen, girl, I went to bed at midnight 3 nights in a row. As did my children. Yeah. But it was so fun.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. Well, it was kind of fun. It was fun. And then it was like, oh, we regret everything, but then it was fun again.
Yeah.
Because like,
I mean,
you just lose track of time.
That's why kids love holidays, because they get to break the rules. They get to, but.
And my white kid's like, can we watch 2 movies? Because he figured it out. He's like, you're going to lose track of time, and I got time.
Yep.
And I was like, no, just 1 movie. They watched like 2 movies and like some cartoons. They just, and nobody knows time. Like, I was at one point, I was like, what time is it? My mom was like, 9:15. It was 11:42. Like, it was.
And kids are like, score.
Yeah, they really are. They're like, oh, we win. It's hilarious.
We have to remember what it was like to be that age, and just so people know, we're recording this after the previous episode you listened to, which we pre-recorded. So that's why people are like, Thanksgiving was a while ago. So this is going to be a couple weeks after Thanksgiving, but
it's the holiday festive season.
I know.
But do you see the shirt that I'm wearing? It says cheer on it, and it is red for Christmas. This Jewish girl loves Christmas so much. My house threw up Christmas, and I'm so excited about it. Okay. How are you?
Oh, I love Christmas.
I know.
I'm tired. My grandmother and my grandpa were like, you going to help with the tree? And of course, they harassed me for the tree, right?
Of course they did.
I'm staying with them.
Yes.
And they have it packed, not in the best way. And so I pull the tree out. The tree is way too big for their new space.
Right.
She has so much stuff out. And I was like, there's no way we can fit that tree in there. So I had to wrap it all up. And my grandpa wasn't being very helpful. I was like, guys, I'm tired. Like, you don't understand. It's like having children when you're looking after older people.
So you're saying there's family drama involved during the holidays? This is new for me. I didn't realize. Is that a thing?
But I also think the tree thing, not enough has been written about the drama that goes on around putting the tree and decorations up.
Maybe that's what and I need to write a script.
Yeah.
To people to relate.
Because I'm such a city girl at this point. I'm just like, I have a little tree, which I love.
Yeah.
It's pre-lit.
Yeah.
It's got a cute little red little satin thing. It came with a star. I light it up. I'm like, we're good to go. And I pull it out a little bit, put little bulbs on it. It takes me 10 minutes to set it up.
That's where I started. That's where it was. Yeah. And it was funny because I was like, the first tree that we got, Sal and I, New York, no kids. I'm Jewish. He's Catholic. And it was me at Duane Reade calling him, I just purchased a tree. And it's too heavy. I need you to meet me at the Duane Reade on 47th and 5th because I need you to help
I know that Duane Reade.
You know
Is it still there?
I have no idea. Probably. And he, poor Sal, just was like a motherfucker, Okay. He's like, but don't ask questions. I love Christmas. And ever since
because it's a fun time of year. Like, people are in a good mood, and you have kids, so you got to do the big tree. Like, if you have kids, you got to do the big tree. No
choice.
you got to make it magical for them. But I'm just like, and I love Christmas too, but I'm like, because we have to, as adults, we have to clean up after everything.
See,
right?
that's the problem. See, I didn't have Christmas as a child. So I'm kind of like, poor Sal, though, because I didn't have it as a child, like he kind of is the one who cleans like a lot up. Because I'm like, I'm playing with my new toys. I'm busy.
Yep.
But I make dinner. I make like a good
fun.
Dinner. So.
While you guys are doing it. Oh.
Yeah.
That's smart. See?
But it's like
Teamwork.
my dinner. It's like I'm going to research fun recipes that are like a little expensive that I wouldn't normally do, you know, which my children are usually like, I'd rather have the boring pasta. This is like weird. Yeah. And I'm like,
or
you don't.
Chicken nuggets. That's the only thing kids want. Chicken nuggets, pasta, and pizza.
This year, I'm going to do what I want and I'm going to heat up chicken nuggets and I don't want to hear another thing about it. That is my actual plan.
Well, I'm with you. I mean, easy is easy. Like I might lose my black Southern card, because for Thanksgiving I cheated on the mac and cheese.
Stop, because I had mac and cheese.
I got whose mac and cheese did you have though?
Listen, it's Lucille's. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. Because Black people, are serious about their mac and cheese, but it turned out pretty good. I got store-bought mac and cheese, but I re-seasoned it. I seasoned it. You got it because you got to put more seasoning in it, put more cheese on it, and then I put it in the oven and baked it for like 20 minutes, and it came out really good, actually.
Do you remember? Did we talk about this 500 years ago? Do you know the show High on the Hog?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, and they
know
boil
about
the
mac
milk.
And cheese.
Yeah. I want to try that. I still haven't tried
Game
that.
Yeah.
Did you do
that?
I
think the second season of that out. No.
I'm so ready.
Mac and cheese is like, but I did make corn muffins from cornbread, and I actually put I tried the thing where you put a little honey in it, and sour cream, and they turned out really good. Actually,
that sounds really good.
Really good. Yeah, and I like the muffins better because they don't take as long to cook. I mean, they cook pretty quickly. But I did cook Cornish hens, and I can cook, but who?
Girl, you heard me when I said I went to a restaurant. Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
It's a long story.
You know what?
Next year,
actually, we are going to get started soon. But actually, when I lived in New York, that's when I learned about the Jewish Christmas Day, Chinese food in a movie, and I was like, yes, I love this.
There is an SNL sketch that makes me die. I love it so much. It is easily 15 years old, and it's called Christmas Time for the Jews. You have to look it up because it's a little bit true. It's like the Jews take over the town. They drink their sweet ass wine. It's hilarious.
I have to check it out. But I mean, I've had many Jewish Christmases when I lived in New York. When the I was like, this is great. I don't have to cook.
Yeah. When the kids were little and I was like really tired, we would have Chinese food because we're also Jewish. You know what I mean? Like that way I didn't have to cook. And it's really good. Honestly, delicious.
And Chinese food is delicious.
Yeah. I'm not mad at that. All right, we should get
started. Now, I think this week I am first, but let me just double check. But also, before we get started, we actually have a new subscriber on our YouTube channel. We don't check our YouTube as much as we should, so we're going to improve that. But
we're excited.
So I want to just shout out two people, Deborah Battle, who found us from my appearance on the Michaud Mission.
Yes.
Hey, Deborah. Thank you so much for sending us a message on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
She wrote, hi, just found out about your podcast on the Michaud Mission, looked over your episodes and found the woman I wanted to hear about, Doris Payne.
Yes.
She's amazing. Doris Payne is one of my favorites, of course. So thank you, Deborah. We really, really appreciate it. I hope we didn't disappoint. Hashtag not historians.
Yeah, that.
So we also just love to thank people for just finding us and even taking the time to write a comment on one of our videos. And so I really, really appreciate it. And just for those of you who want to know, Doris Payne is from season 1, episode 12. So check that out if you guys want to.
It's a good one. She's amazing. She's fascinating.
Yeah. And also on that same episode, we had a comment from, and there's not a name, it's from 258269. They wrote, okay, for one thing, looking the part was more than dressing up. I work with high-end jewelry and diamonds, and one of the things a salesman does is look at the jewelry you're already wearing. So she had to have a few in order to fool them.
Oh, yeah. Didn't we talk about that? So that's so you, because you thought that was the case, and now, right?
Yeah.
Am I making up a memory? It's totally possible.
Well, I mean, but it's true that, you know, someone like her, and I also used to work in a high-end jewelry store myself, actually, when I was in college. Oh, and really? They're right. Like you learn how to clock like expensive things that a lot of people don't know about. Like, for instance, Chopard. Have you ever heard of Chopard?
No.
A lot of people, I mean, you know, Chopard is like, it's probably French. Yeah, French, because Chopard.
Sounds right.
They make jewelry, and their big thing was, or still is probably, teddy bears. They make teddy bears, and it's very like snooty, and I had never heard of these. In fact, I learned how to pronounce Gucci when I worked at this place, because I was like, Gucci?
Gucci?
Gucci? It's Gucci. It's Gucci.
Also, okay, girl.
Because this place sold jewelry and high-end leather goods as well.
And like teddy bears, like for that the children
Chopard
can't even
makes
look at
jewelry. It's, you know how like Tiffany's has the Elsa Peretti, the X's and the O's, or Tiffany has the beans, the bean jewelry.
I don't have a lot of jewelry. Like I don't know anything you're saying.
So Tiffany has like a bean jewelry, and the thing about Tiffany's is that they part of their thing is that they love to say that they have something at every price point for everyone. So they have something that might be as $25 up to, I don't know, $100,000 or more. Like, you know, that's their thing. But certain things like Hermes, I had never heard of Hermes scarves. Like
I knew that about Tiffany's. I have a friend, my friend Lori, if you're listening, Lori. I remember because I was like, girl, I can't afford it. She's like, no, but you can. First of all, they'll let you in. Second of all, there are things like, you know, my husband was like, well, $25 for like but I was like, but it's Tiffany, and I'm never going to convince you of anything. So it's fine. Don't worry about it.
And it's high quality, but no, Chopard
it is high quality.
They make other jewelries. Yeah, Chopard makes but it's my point is that that's a particular brand that only people in the know. So if someone came in, I would be able to spot Chopard.
Oh.
And so it's kind of like one of those things. Like, remember when that whole OJ thing, the Bruno Mali shoes, and people are like,
not.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, and he was like, those ugly ass shoes. But apparently, Bruno Mali shoes are like high end. They were high end, and so most people who didn't have money didn't know. Like, it's certain things. It's the dog whistle. It's the rich person's dog whistles. Is what it is.
Do you know Zarna Garg? We are so off topic. Okay, she's hilarious. She's an Indian comic. She's a mom. I love her. We actually follow her on Instagram.
Good.
She's so funny. And she has this series, I think it's on Instagram. I've seen it on Instagram. I don't know, maybe it's TikTok first, where she takes the highest end bags and goes through them and shows you how it is to actually have this bag as a daily bag. And it's so funny because they are not great in terms of user friendliness. And she's so funny. She's like, 5 years later, you've closed it. Okay.
That's the whole point of those things.
Yeah.
Like the Hermes bag. I know people love the Birkin bag, which
she does.
I learned about that when I worked at this place.
And she's
I prefer
very
the Kelly bag.
I don't know what you said.
See, I prefer the Kelly bag. See, that's what I'm saying. But like, once celebrities, and I bet you really rich people are like, oh, the Birkins are so passé because everyone has a Birkin now.
It's only $10,000.
It's only, no, actually, those Birkins are, but those bags are not meant to be actually used. You use them like one time.
Comprehend.
Cartier makes leather goods, and they have a sapphire collection. And I remember holding the sapphire collection. They scratch very, very easily because the leather is so soft.
You buy another one.
Exactly. Or you handle them with care.
Right.
And so my point is
that...
Don't
have children ever.
Ever. This person's right. Like, you can always spot. And so when you work at these places, you're trained to spot, like, inconspicuous wealth is what it is. And so I bet you Doris caught on, because remember they said that she was so light skinned.
Yes.
And she looked like a supermodel and then she would kind of like, muddle her past, and she seemed like an international and traveler and that stuff like that. So, but you guys should check out Doris Payne. She is fascinating.
All right, we should probably do this episode.
Yes, let's get started. So this week I am first.
And who is your woman?
So I'm always looking for really interesting ladies. I love a bad girl.
Yeah, you do.
But I also love a woman that's hilarious and that's probably in more recent history. So I'm not going back to like ancient times or anything like that. This lady is actually more recent. And she actually was born around the same time as Nancy Reagan was, a more recent subject.
Okay.
But this week, my notorious woman is Leona Helmsley.
Oh.
Do you know who Leona Helmsley is?
God,
sounds familiar, right?
Yeah, like of course. I picture her with jewels outside of Fifth Avenue things, but that is as far as I have in my head. Go on.
Okay, so let's get to it.
Okay.
So Leona Helmsley was born Lena Mindy Rosenthal in July of 1920 in
She's
Marbletown,
Jewish.
New York, to Polish Jewish immigrants, Ida, a homemaker, and Morris Rosenthal, a hat maker. Yes.
Oh, right. So she's probably my cousin. Go on.
I don't know if you want to be related to her.
Oh,
Whatever
God, maybe
you do.
No, but, that's like a fourth cousin 7 times removed. It's fine. Okay.
Now, when she was very young, her parents moved and eventually settled in Manhattan, which, anybody from New York knows. Like, when you go to Manhattan, it's like, ooh, big time, right? But it depends on where you live in Manhattan. Now, being the first generation American, being the child of not only immigrants, but probably Jewish immigrants around this time, anti-Semitism still a big thing today, but even more so then.
Yeah.
I feel like Lena was kind of like self-conscious about that.
Yeah.
So after she graduated from high school, she changed her name several times over a short period of time. From Lena to Lee Roberts to Mindy Roberts and Lenny Roberts before settling on Leona Mindy Roberts.
Now that's just all very questionable. You know what I mean? Like if I met someone and the last time she told me her name was Lena and now she's Mindy, I would be like, I don't know, girl. Who? I don't know.
Well, I think Lena, now Leona, had like aspirations about business. She basically was trying to pass for a Gentile, I think.
Oh, of course she was.
And, because, again, people, for those anti-Semites who are like, the Jews take over everything.
No, they don't.
No, A.
Wait, I'm wondering
B,
if they do take over everything, like, where's my cut? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sitting here waiting for everything. I don't understand.
Miriam.
What? What?
You know where your cut is? They went to make the lasers. Okay.
Oh, right. The space lasers. You're right.
The space lasers.
You're right. We all had to put our money in, Jesus. So, I remember when you texted me so randomly and you're like, why didn't you tell me about the lasers? And I was like, what lasers? What are you talking about? I hadn't talked to you in like 2 weeks. It was like COVID. I was like, what? Are you okay? And you were like, Miriam, the space laser. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. I thought we were friends, girl. You need to hook a sister up with the space lasers access. Okay.
Listen, Jews only. I'm so sorry.
Okay. I get it. I get it. My bad. So
I forgive you.
So nowadays, Jewish people have the space lasers and rule the world.
Yeah.
So, but in 1938, they did not. Nope. And nor do they do now. So
not a great year for
clear.
Jews. Okay.
No.
Right.
So in 1938, at the age of 18, now Leona Mindy Roberts, no longer Lena Rosenthal,
right,
married her first husband, Leo Panzerer, who became a lawyer. So she married. The couple had a son named Jay in 1940, so 2 years later, and they were married for 14 years before divorcing in 1952.
Question: did she pretend to not be Jewish to her husband? Do we know?
It's not clear. I would imagine if he knows her family, they probably know. But as you well know, of course, but a lot of people may not know, a lot of Jewish people did change their names in an attempt to avoid discrimination and to assimilate, because that's what they were told that they had to do in order to be successful Americans.
Yep.
So, and they were not wrong. There's a reason why they had to change their name, because I'm like, don't change your name, but I didn't live in 1938 and had a Jewish name either. So
what's funny is a lot of Jewish last names now, including my own, wasn't a Jewish last name. It was founded because they needed to change the Jewish last name to a not Jewish last name. Well, now it's Jewish because they had children, and then they were like, it's okay, we're Jewish, and then, it's so interesting. All right, go on.
Well, I mean, it's probably one of those things he knew, but it's also in business, because I also think she may have changed it, not only for that, but also when you're going into business. It's just like this is a discussion that Black people have. Like, do you give your kids a Black sounding name, quote unquote? Will their resumes go in the garbage? It's also that kind of thing that people don't think about, practical stuff. So, But in 1952, she and Leo divorced. Now, newly divorced, she worked briefly at a sewing factory, but then quickly turned to real estate. Because I have a feeling that Leona had big dreams of living the high life.
Yep, I think so.
She wanted to live well. Okay, she wanted to upgrade. So
listen,
she went into real estate.
Right?
Girl, I get it. Yep.
Okay.
Now, in 1968, while working as a condominium broker, and she was very successful from the get-go. Her personality, she's very headstrong, very good at business, very smart.
Okay.
While working as a condominium broker, she met and began her involvement with the then married real estate entrepreneur, Harry Helmsley.
Ah, that's the last name I was looking for. Okay.
Yeah. Eventually, she joined one of his.
Okay.
Yep. Eventually, she joined one of his brokerage firms, Brown Harris Stevens, and became a senior VP.
Damn, girl! Ride that ladder up there. Okay.
Now, at the time, she was already a millionaire herself in her own right, because she was very good at her job, very successful.
Okay.
Harry eventually divorced his wife of 33 years. So he was significantly older than her, and married Leona on April 8th, 1972.
I'm sure his wife has something to say about that.
Yeah. I mean, he was very, very wealthy. So hopefully she got at least half of that money.
Hopefully she was like, listen, I'm rich and I don't have to deal with him anymore. Yeah. That is my hope for her.
Now, I'm going to get more into this, but the thing about Leona, like, she was very good at her job. She had the gift of gab. She was very ambitious. But she also, which I think may not have been unusual in New York business, and still is not unusual in New York business today. She liked to cut corners. A lot of people feel like the marriage may have saved her career, because several of her tenants had sued her the year before for forcing them to buy condominiums under false pretenses.
Oh, shit.
So they won, and she was forced not only to compensate the tenants, but to give them 3-year leases. Her real estate license was also suspended.
Wait, for free?
So apparently
in New York City?
In New York City. So you know it was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She fucked up.
So she basically promised, a lot of them say that they were strong-armed into buying their condominiums under false, not pretenses, but under false, she promised them something that was not true. So fraud, basically.
Fraud is the word, I think. Yeah.
Fraud is the word. So
Allegedly.
But, allegedly. So she was asked to compensate them, but, so that is legal. That is true.
So go on.
So she turned her focus from her own sort of career selling condominiums to Harry's already successful business.
Okay.
But she aimed to not only just be a brokerage firm, but she wanted him to get into the hotel business.
Okay. So, I'm remembering things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So at first, she turned some of the business to the conversion of apartment buildings into condos, which, side note, I was just watching this video on Lauren Bacall, who I love. And the what's the famous building that her apartment was in?
Yes.
And it's
the
Rosemary's Baby is set there. So anyway, that apartment building, that happened when the owner died. Basically, everyone got together and they bought the building and they turned it into a co-op. So that was a big thing in New York, because in New York, the old saying is that they're not making new land. That's why it's so expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
In Manhattan especially.
And
so you have to kind of, you have to sort of like do this kind of thing. And that was happening big time during this time. So at first she turned part of the business to converting apartment buildings into condos. And then they moved on to the hotel industry, and they built the Helmsley Palace Hotel on Madison Avenue.
Okay.
Now together, the Helmsleys built a New York real estate empire that included 230 Park Avenue, the Empire State Building.
Oh, hey. Okay.
The Tudor and the Tudor City apartment complex on East Side, as well as the Helmsley Spear Inc., a management and leasing company. So they're like managing apartment buildings, leasing apartment buildings, managing condominiums and co-ops. They're doing all kinds of things, and hotels. So a lot of money.
I know, but that feels like a lot of work too. Do you know what I mean? Like that feels like too much.
I watched an interview with her on 60 Minutes with, I think it was Mike Wallace, and where she was in one of the hotels, and it was really interesting. This woman was very, very smart. Harry actually lucked out by getting a wife this smart, because he was a successful businessman, but it's because of her that they were able to do what they were doing. It was the both of them, because he had the finances, obviously, but she had the know-how. She really was in there, like, looking at the finer details.
Yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely impressed. Like, I feel like that's a lot of responsibility, and you have to hire a lot of people that you trust, really,
Yeah. Now, the couple also developed properties that included the Helmsley Palace Hotel, like I said, the New York Helmsley Hotel, the Park Lane Hotel, and hotels in Florida and other states.
Okay, I'm exhausted.
By the beginning,
go on.
I know. By the beginning of 1989, they had 23 hotels in the chain and were directly controlled by Leona Helmsley herself.
Damn.
Okay. This is when her reputation, her notorious reputation, began to crystallize. So around this time, they started to run an ad campaign where she was like queen of the palace. So the Palace Hotel,
and
right?
she was wearing a fur. Yeah. Okay, maybe? I don't know. I was a child.
It was the 80s, so it was, wealth was ostentatious. It was about showing off. And so in this advertising campaign, it was a whole campaign. She was queen of the Palace Hotel, right? But because of her behind the scenes ways of management, her management style, she eventually acquired the moniker Queen of Mean.
Yes.
Because it got out to the mainstream press because apparently she was known for terrorizing her employees.
Oh, so that's how she controlled everything. She was cruel. Yeah. Okay, interesting.
For instance, Alan Dershowitz, who's once her lawyer, was having breakfast with her at one of the hotels, and he received a cup of tea with a tiny bit of water spilled on the saucer. Okay. She grabbed the cup from the waiter and smashed it on the floor, then told him to beg for his job. Allegedly.
That's allegedly very cruel. Like, You don't have to be like that to keep your power. You just don't.
It's so interesting, though, because I read that, but then when I watched her in the Mike Wallace thing and her interacting with people, and obviously she was putting on a show because the cameras were there.
Yeah.
But she was also very she talked about one employee who did something and she admonished her. And then she said, now she is my best employee. That's all I ask.
Well,
People take instruction.
So fear, will do the job. It's true. But the consequences of fear are you are the queen of me. Congratulations.
Well, I have a feeling, though, that and this is not making excuses for her, but I have a feeling, though, she's one of those people that if she liked you, she liked you. If she didn't, nothing you could do would be good enough. And which is hell if you work for someone who nothing you can do is good enough.
Haven't we all had that boss? Ugh.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah. And so, but not only was she queen of mean and just... she had a short fuse, allegedly. She was also allegedly very cheap, right?
What? She was a gazillionaire.
Yeah. So she and Harry were building this big home in upstate New York. Was it upstate New York? Yeah, it was upstate New York. And they were building a barbecue pit. And the work was performed by this guy named Eugene Brennan, a personal friend of Jeremiah McCarthy, the chief engineer at the Helmsley Spear Hotel.
Okay.
When the final bill came to $13,000, she refused to pay, citing shoddy workmanship.
What a bitch.
And when McCarthy pleaded with her to honor the bill, citing the favor done on his behalf, because he's like, this is a favor for me. This looks bad on me. Yeah. And she was like, Brennan, his friend, Eugene, had 6 children to support. She reportedly replied, quote, why didn't he keep his pants on? Then he wouldn't need the money, end quote.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
She never paid
She was
it.
Also, she probably not.
I would smash that shit up. I would smash it up.
The fact that, you get work done. And the work was not shoddy. You're not going to get a job for a rich person.
It was probably literally perfect.
Yeah. And she just didn't want to pay. She probably just didn't want to pay. These people, it reminds me of H.H. Holmes. The thing that got H.H. Holmes, the serial killer, is that he refused to pay the workers who worked on his murder castle. I find that so hilarious and ironic.
I know, right? Crazy's gonna cry.
You're a cheap ass. That's your downfall, that you're a cheap ass. So
you have billions. She probably had billions. That's
not the point, though.
I don't even care.
The point is,
you hired someone. I want it for free.
I want it for free.
Listen,
I want it for free.
Bish. Okay.
That's why she that's why she was still rich.
I don't $13,000 is $1 to me. $13,000 to her was $5.25 to me.
No, she would reportedly buy a pair of shoes, wear them once or twice, and then take them back and demand the money.
She did this?
She did this, allegedly.
So allegedly a lot wrong with what she did in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So in addition to being allegedly a cheapskate and a hard boss, she basically the slightest mistake any employee ever made, she was usually grounds for firing them. And then she was known to shout insults and obscenities at certain employees just before they were fired. So now,
do you know what I think is interesting? She was very much her time and place, because you could not do that now, because we have cell phones and we can capture everything. And by the time we're done with you, popular sentiment would not be on your side. People would stop doing business with you. Right.
But that is why that's the railing against wokeness. People don't want to be accountable for their actions.
And I'm okay with being accountable for your actions.
Yeah, no matter what time or place, you should not be yelling obscenities at people. And I understand, listen, I lose my temper all the time. I understand losing your temper. And I understand that some people seem, common sense is not common. I get it. But you have to treat people as adults and treat them with respect. They're not your freaking children, and you don't yell at children like that. So why are you yelling at grown-ass people? Just because you pay them?
Yeah, because you pay them? No, you don't own them. Sorry, that's illegal now. No. Thank you.
No. Now, you would think that her family would be spared this kind of treatment, right?
No, I wouldn't, actually.
Right. You'd be wrong. Yeah. Because on March 31st, 1982, her only child, Jay, from her first marriage, he died of a heart attack resulting from an arrhythmia.
Oh, that is very sad.
Now, her son's widow, who lived in a property that Leona owned, received an eviction notice shortly after his funeral.
Wow.
And Leona successfully sued her son's estate for money and property that she claimed he had borrowed, and she was ultimately awarded $146,092.
Wow. What the fuck is wrong, girl? No, we need like a good therapist, maybe a psychiatrist. We need to like figure out our deep, darkest, because this is not. Whatever happened to her? Do you know? Like the widow?
Eventually, eventually they kind of reconciled a little bit, but not for a long time. Because can you imagine you just lost your husband surprisingly? Because he was only, I think he was about 42. Yeah, he was 42.
Jeez.
So he died suddenly.
And then
his mother evicts you. Yeah.
I don't want to be like Bish the whole episode, but I'm gonna be, because Bish,
No,
I don't know. Dick?
No, I get it.
She's also a dick. What?
Yeah, she's a dick.
She's a dick.
Yeah.
I like the dick.
Now,
that helps.
Yeah, Queen of Mean was, And now despite, at the time, in the 80s, the Helmsleys were worth over $1 billion in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
They were still known for disputing payments to contractors and vendors. In 1983, they bought a 21-room mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut. Actually, it was in Connecticut, not upstate New York.
Did they buy it, or did they
just a weekend retreat?
Did they just squat in it?
No, they actually bought it.
Okay.
They bought it. Certain things I think people do because you don't want to look bad amongst the other rich people. Because then people start to think, oh, do they really have money? Or, certain things you're willing to spend money on. And they're willing to spend money on themselves, but I'm sure they still disputed a lot of the work that was done on the home because, of course, they had to do some renovation. So now the property costs $11 million, but they want to make it more luxurious. So they included they added a $1 million dance floor.
Whoa.
A silver clock and a mahogany card table. The remodeling bill came to about $8 million, which they were loath apparently to pay. And remember we were saying that they probably disputed it? Disputed the contractors, the bills? A group of contractors sued them, of course, for non-payment.
Good.
And they eventually had to pay off most of the debt owed to the contractors, but they had to take them to court to get them to do it.
That's utterly fucked up. And these people
now in
they don't get $8 million. They have supplies,
right.
People work contractors among contractors. Okay.
But it's also people's salaries to pay to buy food for their families, take care of their families and themselves.
We're not doing this for funsies.
Yeah. Now, during this, and this is why you need to pay your bills, especially when you got the money. Because in 1985, during the court proceedings where they had to sue, the contractors revealed that most of their work was being illegally billed to the Helmsley hotels as business expenses.
Oh, yeah.
So
tracks.
During the investigation, the contractors sent a stack of the falsified invoices to the New York Post to prove that the Helmsleys were trying to avoid tax liabilities.
Okay.
And because of that, the Post story led to a federal criminal investigation.
That makes me very happy.
See, pay your bills. Downfall H.H. Holmes. I'm just saying. We can't do him on here because he's a dude.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now, Jeremiah McCarthy, their executive engineer, also alleged that Leona repeatedly demanded that he sign invoices to bill personal expenses to the Helmsley Spear. And when he declined to do so, she would explode shouting, "You're not my fucking partner. You'll sign what I tell you to sign," end quote. Now,
well, ain't she precious? Okay.
Now, in 1988, the then U.S. Attorney Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, Rudy.
Indicted the Helmsleys and two of their associates on several tax-related charges, as well as extortion.
You know, it's weird to like Rudy Giuliani in this moment. Like, it feels awkward a little.
No, it's like, dude, you're literally, I'll get to that. So now,
okay.
Now, before I get to that, actually, let's talk about that here. So one of her main competitors, or at least at his head during this time, was Donald Trump to Leona Helmsley.
Right.
He hated her. He hated her. Part of the reason he hated her because he doesn't like women. He hates women, but also that she was actually, and everyone in New York, just so you guys know, everyone in New York knows that Donald Trump is full of shit and was not really a real businessman. Everyone in New York, he's a laughingstock in New York because they know everybody talks, and she knew that he was just living off of his daddy's accomplishments, that she was actually a hotel mogul.
Which is true.
She was a property mogul, and he was not. And he hated her. He hated her. So that's why I find it ironic that Giuliani indicted her. Yeah. And then now ends up working for a guy he knows. So Giuliani knows that Trump was full of shit because everybody in New York was like, Trump was full of shit. It has no class.
I mean, I remember if people would visit and like, I want to see the Trump building. I'd be all right, roll your eyes. All right, it's right over there.
Yep.
Should we go in? Why? It's building. Take a picture.
People were like, everyone knew it's just like, anyway. So now the trial was delayed until the summer of 1989 due to numerous motions by their attorneys, most of them related to Harry's health. Harry was a lot older than her. And I will say, in the interview with Mike Wallace and even Barbara Walters, she was crazy about Harry. Okay. She would always be like, look how gorgeous he is. Like, he's so gorgeous. Look at him. And she'd get like soft around him. And like, it was really, really interesting.
That is interesting.
Like, because when you look up pictures of her older after this time, and she looks like the Queen of Mean. But like, just to see her being like giddy around her husband. And they're like laughing and like it was really, really interesting. So this was definitely a love match. It didn't hurt that he was rich. But she even said, she's like, he's rich, he's gorgeous. She kept saying he's gorgeous, and she's like, he's so smart. I am the luckiest girl ever. Right?
Okay.
Like if these people weren't so terrible, you would be like, this is relationship goals. Because she was just like, oh.
Two truths really can exist at the same time. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but around 1989, he was ill by all accounts. So he began to appear feeble, and he had a stroke around that time due to a pre-existing heart condition.
Oof. Okay.
So, and like I said, he was a lot older than her anyway. So ultimately, he was ruled mentally and physically unfit to stand trial. So Leona would face the charges alone.
Okay, girl.
Now, at trial, her former executive at one of her properties, Mike Ruffino, said that he refused to sign phony invoices billing the company for what had been done on the Connecticut mansion.
Right.
He was originally employed to assist Harry through the hospitality management arm of the business. But and he said that Leona fired him on several occasions for refusing to sign bills because he's like, this is shady as fuck.
I feel like people got fired.
Know something shady as fuck.
I mean,
and then she would rehire them and then fire them again. Yeah. Only so he would fire him, and then he would just. Yeah, she would just usually be like, okay, fine, whatever, just come back to work. So she just kept firing. It was a game they would play because he's like, I know what you're doing, girl. I know what you're doing. Now, another key witness in the trial was a former housekeeper at the Helmsley home, a woman by the name of Elizabeth Baum, who recounted Leona telling her once, quote, we don't pay taxes. Only the little people pay taxes, end quote. Now, in the Barbara Walters interview I watched, she denied it, of course. She was like, of course I wouldn't say that. But I'm like, yeah, you probably could say that.
You fully said it. Like, Allegedly.
Yeah.
Fully allegedly said it. Mm-hmm.
Now, and during the trial, the reason why we know she was a queen of mean and was called that by most of the people working for her is because during the trial, all of this came out. Her abusive behavior, her micromanaging of employees and family members, her trying to scam contractors, and even being terrible to senior executives. Former employees testified that the trial, quote, about how they feared her, with one calling how she casually fired him while she was being fitted for a dress, end quote. Yeah.
Wow. Not okay.
Yeah. I mean, and most legal observers felt that her hostile personality in general, and then her arrogance that came off of her, it alienated the jurors. It was not going to go well. Plus, let's call it out, misogyny. Because she's right. In one of the interviews I watched on her, she was like, if I were a man and I was like this, it'd just be like, he's a good businessman. And she's absolutely right.
That is very true.
I would think he's a terrible person.
But that doesn't excuse the actions. Like, that's very true. But that just means our society's fucked up.
Exactly.
That doesn't make her okay, Yeah.
So it was not looking good. So on August 30th, 1989, Leona Helmsley was convicted of 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the U.S., 3 counts of tax evasion, 3 counts of filing false personal tax returns, 16 counts of assisting in the filing of false corporate and partnership tax returns, and 10 counts of mail fraud. She was acquitted on the extortion. Which was a charge that could have sent her to prison for the rest of her life. But she was sentenced to 16 years in prison.
I mean,
which was eventually reduced to 8. It was eventually reduced down because 8 of the convictions were dropped later on. But it was clear that she was going to prison. So after the verdict, she came out, and it was a media, she was on the cover of newspapers, Queen of Mean, like it was like sensational. It was like New York, and it's in New York. Like, everyone was covering this. It was like a madhouse, like outside the courtroom. And she did her best Karen impression. She fainted. She was like, oh. And they had to carry her away.
Oh, yeah.
She collapsed outside
the vapors.
Yeah, no, she actually fainted. She collapsed outside the courthouse. She was later diagnosed. She was later diagnosed with hypertension and irregular heartbeat.
Okay.
Now, her lawyer, like Alan Dershowitz, was retained to appeal the judgment. Following the appeal, which resulted in reduced sentence, she was ordered to report to prison 3 years later on tax day, April 15th, 1992.
I really like that it was on tax day. Like, I really appreciate that.
She was eventually released from custody on January 26, 1994, after serving 21 months. Okay.
That's not a long time.
So this is how rich people... So she was sentenced, she was convicted on August 30th, 1989. She didn't go to prison until 1992.
This is, because when you're white, you get away with some shit. Yeah, and rich.
Yep.
In terms of like race and class, you're winning. Now, were you a male, you'd be there for a month, probably.
Exactly.
Just the way the world works, right? There's like a 2-year tax if you're female, I guess.
Exactly. Now, she was after being released, she spent most of her time in isolation, especially after Harry died in 1997.
Okay.
He left her his entire fortune, including the Helmsley Hotels, the Palace, Empire State Building, his estate was estimated to be worth excess of $5 billion in 1997. Now, she was estranged from her grandchildren because she evicted them and their mother after their father died.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
She had few friends, and she was living alone in her lavish apartment. But she did have one companion, a doggy. She had a dog.
Yeah, because a dog can't argue back.
Yeah. But also, not only did she go to prison and get out, but because of her conviction, she was labeled a felon. So she had to actually give up all of the properties that had alcohol licenses.
Oh, that's probably most of them.
Yep. So she basically she spent the last couple of years of her life, or the last few years of her life, in her penthouse atop the Park Lane Hotel. This place was so fabulous. Their apartment had a inside pool.
What?
That's how rich these people were. Well, I mean, they were billionaires. Yeah.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah. Now, you can do anything, almost anything when you have money. Now, her legal problems didn't end, actually, with her case. In 2002, she was sued by Charles Bell, a former employee who alleged that he was fired solely for being gay.
Yeah, probably.
You know she did that shit.
She definitely did that shit, yeah.
Because a jury agreed, and they ordered her to pay him about $11 million, but it was eventually reduced to about $550,000.
That's some bullshit. Give him $11 million.
I know. Yeah, he should have gotten. I would cut that in half, $6.5 million.
All right, fine.
Give that man, because you know she did that.
She did that,
and before she fired him, she probably just threw all kinds of slurs at him, just awful. Now, eventually she died of congestive heart failure at the age of 87 on August 20th, 2007, at her summer home in Greenwich, Connecticut. Now, cardiovascular disease, ran in her home, ran in her family, so it wasn't surprised, but because it also killed her father, her son, and her sister. So, she was entombed next to Harry in a mausoleum constructed for about $1.4 million and is set on 3/4 acres of Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in Westchester County, New York. Now, I'm almost finished here. So she left the bulk of her estate, estimated around $4 billion, to a charitable trust, actually, that did a lot of good in the city. But she also left money to her dog.
Oh my God, I knew you were going to say that. I don't know how I knew, but I knew. Okay. Lucky little puppy.
She actually, I know. So she also left a lot of money to the dog. I mean, a lot of money. So eventually, though, because of the ridiculousness of that, family members were able to reduce that. So Trouble, the Maltese dog, got only $12 million.
That's
it was put into a trust.
Stop it.
Eventually, they also got it down to about $2 million. Just to pay for, obviously, it's to pay for somebody to take care of Trouble, and now
$2 million. Died. Yeah, you need $2 million to take care of one dog. You're right. Yeah. That makes sense to me.
I take care of Trouble for free, but I mean, with $2 million, no. Me and Trouble be living the high life. Okay,
I need $2 million to take care of Trouble. That sounds right. That's about
especially a Maltese. That's a little doggy. Trouble died about 3 years later at age 12 in December of 2010. So the remainder of the funds were reverted back to the charitable trust. And now they had wished that Trouble be interred with her in the mausoleum, but New York State prohibited pets from being inhuman. So, yeah. Now, Leona had 4 grandchildren.
Okay.
2 of them each received $5 million in a trust and $5 million in cash, under the condition that they visit their father's gravesite once each calendar year. And then they had to sign a paper, all that other stuff. Her other 2 grandchildren, Craig and Megan Panzier, received nothing.
What the fuck? Why?
She's such a bitch.
Jesus.
It was something they had said. Probably they didn't take to kind of the way she treated.
Yeah, they probably were like, you're a bitch.
Their father's widow. So now in 2008, the judgment was ruled, that judgment where she cut out the other 2 was reverted back, because they ruled that she was mentally unfit when she executed her will. So of the $10 million originally bequeathed to Trouble, $4 million was awarded to the charitable trust and $6 million was awarded to Craig and Megan, who had been disinherited. Now, the ruling did require that they keep silent about the dispute with their grandmother and deliver to the court any documents about her. She did leave $15 million to her brother Alvin Rosenthal, and she left $100,000 to her chauffeur Nicholas Celia.
You know, the way she divvied up money, I just don't.
It's control. It's control.
It's so stupid. Y'all get zero. What?
And also to foster infighting amongst the grandchildren. It's just a nasty piece of business. Like,
well, she's a nasty piece of business.
Well, she was also indeed notorious. That is Leona Helmsley, the queen of mean.
Thank you so much for her. She is a fascinating ride, you know?
She is hilarious. And when every picture you see of her, she's looking like this.
Yeah.
She is literally
Lavetta
Cruella de Vil.
She made the greatest face. No one can see.
She's literally Cruella de Vil without trying to kill doggies. She's literally Cruella. I bet you Glenn Close modeled Cruella de Vil off of Leona Helmsley. Yeah.
So true. Oh my God. All right. Well, thank you for her.
My pleasure. Who's your notorious woman?
I'm taking us on a very, very different journey.
Oh.
Okay. Let's go back a few years to the year, I think it was 2012. I was in a play. And of course, I was so talented and amazing. So I just wanted to share that. And since nobody videotaped it, you can't prove me wrong. About the woman I'm going to talk about today. Her name is Artemisia Gentileschi. What?
Is that Italian?
It's Italian.
Artemisia Gentileschi.
Artemisia Gentileschi. I'm very sorry to anyone who is Italian. I apologize.
We're Americans.
We're very Americans. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very American.
Truth is truth. She was born in Rome on July 8th, 1593.
Oh.
Let's go back in time, y'all. So her birth certificate says not 1590, but we don't know why. No idea. This is, this is like old, so we know what we know.
Yeah.
And she was the eldest child of Prudencia di Ottaviano Montoni. That was very disrespectful, and I heard it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Stop now. And the Tuscan painter Orazio Gentileschi. He was a painter from Pisa, and he was a very well-known artist. So her mom died in 1605. And I think she led a kind of a typical childhood-ish. But when her mom passed, she approached painting for herself. Her father had a workshop, and she had much more talent than her brothers. So they were all painting together, but she was the good one, the one with actual talent, despite her boobs. Yep. Okay, I know. It's weird. What are you going to do? So by the age of 1612, she was known for her exemplary talents, and her father would boast about her. He would say that despite painting for only 3 years, that she had no peers, that she was the best of her kind. So that's nice.
I love her daddy.
Well, sometimes we'll move it along. Right. And she also had her own approach. Like her father was very influenced by the work of Caravaggio. Now, I don't know what any of this really means, but maybe you do.
You've seen Caravaggio. When you see Caravaggio, you're like, oh yeah, I recognize that style of painting. Yeah.
So many museums in my life. I'm like one of those like educated people that like, oh, let's go to a museum, but I don't know that I retain much. The name looks familiar.
Yeah, you know. Okay. When you see, you're like, oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay. But she differed by taking a much more naturalistic approach. And I just side note, her works are very powerful because of it. So her earliest surviving work, in which she completed at the age of 17, is called Susanna and the Elders. Y'all, she's just incredible. It depicts the biblical story of Susanna, and it shows how she assimilated the realism and the effects used by Caravaggio. And then there's like more that goes into detail about art that I don't fully comprehend. But I will say I've seen pictures of it. Like, you can look this up, and it's very powerful. Okay, so there's an interesting. The New Yorker for this painting has a quote that I'm going to say. It says, "With this painting and with many other works that followed, Artemisia claimed women's resistance of sexual oppression as a legitimate subject of art." This was like early 1600s.
So she was spilling the tea.
She was spilling
in the paintings.
She was like, "You guys, it's like this." Okay.
Oh.
Now, fair warning, she's a woman and bad things happen to women. And this is a story of a bad thing happening to her. So in 1611, Orazio was working with a man named Agostino Tasso to decorate the vaults of Casino del Muse inside the Palazzo Pallavicini Rospigliosi in Rome. Probably just said the palace, but it's too late. So in May, one day, Tassi visits their household, and he rapes her. There was another man, Cosimo Quarli, and it just says he played a part in the rape. We don't. Yeah. So,
because God forbid a woman is just living her life.
Yeah.
Without me forcing her to see my penis.
You think you're so good? Because think about it. He was an
artist. The other guy's probably the lookout.
Yeah. The lookout.
Yeah.
Well,
I was saying.
Actually, speaking of lookout, story gets more complex.
Oh.
So after her mom died, so she's surrounded by just men. She has brothers. She's a father. So when she was 17, her father rented the upstairs apartment to a female tenant, a woman named Tuzia. I played Tuzia. Now, I did not know this part of what happened because I didn't do this in the play, in which I was obviously a genius.
Obviously.
Thank you for saying that. So Tuzia and Artemisia became friends, right?
Yeah.
During the rape, Tuzia heard her cry out for help and actively ignored it. She pretended she did not know what was happening and did absolutely nothing.
Was it that she was afraid that if she went down that it would also happen to her, or?
Could be. Because
it's not like we had phones back then where you could call, Did they know she was home?
But couldn't she have gone outside for help? Found her father?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, how is the setup with the...
Right?
Yeah, like...
But also, okay. So then after this happened, it was expected they would get married because she's no longer a virgin. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that fucker probably knew that.
Fucker. Well. The story just keeps storying. So they needed to restore her virtue, obviously. So her father was like, okay, you were massively violated. You will marry your violator. Cool. What? So then they started having sex on the regs, right? Like Stockholm Syndrome, anyone, right? And then Tuzia was the one who coordinated their sex life, basically. She would like sneak him up.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait a minute, but weren't they engaged?
But they're still having sex. And, back in the day, it was like, you don't want the baby to be born 3 months after the wedding. You know what I'm saying? So the wedding has to happen first. So this is going on for a while. And then after about 9 months, her daddy found out that he was not, in fact, planning on marrying her. Then her daddy decided to press charges against him for raping her. Because he wouldn't marry her. He wouldn't. Tassi was like, I don't actually want to marry her. Psych. And so then Artemisia's father, Orazio, was like, I'm suing you because he had violated the family's honor. So not he had violated his poor daughter, who is now suffering mentally and emotionally, because she is, obviously. It's because you fucked with the family's honor. Okay.
I'm so confused as to why he's still alive.
Yeah.
Listen, I get it, because at this time, because in the father's mind and society's mind, if she goes to marry a man, then she will fail the test of the night of the wedding with the blood, right? She'll fail that test.
Right.
So that's why the guy has to marry her. But why? Like, I know how shotgun weddings work. They should have been married. If we're going to do this, they need to be married within 3 days. Of the incident happening.
That's what I'm saying, right? Also, doesn't she have brothers? Like, right? He kind of half-asses the father thing. You know what I'm saying?
And if she's not married, right, she has brothers. If she's not married within 3 days and he's still alive, I'm so confused. Like, why is he still alive?
Like, she has brothers and a father, and he's still breathing.
Did he outrank them or something?
No.
Was it a ranking thing, maybe?
No.
Like a society thing? Okay.
No.
Okay. Because I don't know why this man's still alive if he's not married to my daughter within 3 days.
Right?
I just don't understand.
I don't know why he's still alive at all. At all.
I mean, there's also that poison in the Tofana.
That's right. It's the same.
This is why motherfuckers need to be, listen.
That's why she was
You
such
can come on over, get some little nookie, and I give you a little tea.
Delish.
Ignore the bitterness. Here's some more honey.
No, it's
tea.
good for you. Yeah, it's delicious.
Yes. I'm just,
I got new honey. New honey.
I'm so confused. Okay.
Yeah. So, honestly, it's more confusing. Ready? It's more, shall we say, interesting. During the trial that lasted 7 months, it was discovered that Tassi was married, that he had planned to murder his wife, had been having sex with his sister-in-law, and the plan was to steal Orazio's paintings. Meanwhile, Orazio's
they made a play of this. What?
Yeah.
What in the telenovela nonsense is going on here? What? So he couldn't even keep it in his pants enough to take out to stick to his own plans of stealing this man's paintings.
Exactly.
He has to rape the daughter and then complicate his life. Okay.
Yeah. 7-month trial. Yep.
Wow.
Which this is great because the trials were really they really wanted the truth to come out. Like, honesty was important to them. It was so important to them that they used thumb screws for the purpose of verifying Artemisia's testimony. Right. Not his
so they tortured
testimony.
her?
They tortured her. Because, women, they lie, just to get their way.
No wonder they were poisoning these assholes. Yeah. I would poison all of them.
I would like to go back in time because there wasn't enough poison.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Yes.
So they did win, and he was exiled to Rome, from Rome, sorry, But they just didn't follow through. They were like, leave Rome. And then they just went to have dinner and some wine and forgot about him. Yeah. Cool.
So the next sentence is, then his body was found
in
floating
parts.
in the canal.
Yeah. I wish. Nope. But he does like go away. And then her father arranges her to marry another man, Pier Antonio Stiatesi. I think that was not bad. Okay. I love Italian.
It was pretty bad.
This is solid judgment on your face right now.
I'm just being
honest, Miriam. It is. I'm like,
listen. It's still not as bad as Jared Leto's Italian accent in The House of Gucci.
Oh, I never saw it.
Oh my God. If you want to cackle.
I do.
He's literally like, my name is Luigi, but I kid you not.
And this is my brother Mario, and we will fight. We will drive in the car.
Oh no. Everybody has a different Italian accent in this movie.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Be sure not to hire any Italians when you make a movie about Italian.
No, Lady Gaga's Italian. She's doing like an Italian vampire accent. I don't know. Al Pacino's in it. He's doing another kind of accent. I don't know what's going on, but Liz is better than that.
Thank you. That's a compliment, I think. I don't know that it's even a compliment.
Jared Leto is like, this is a comedy. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Okay, sorry.
No problem. You're just complimenting my perfect accent, and that's what I just heard.
Yes.
So this Pierre guy, I'll call him Pierre Antonio. I don't know what I'll call him. His husband, was a modest artist from Florence, and then after they got married, they moved to Florence and spent 6 years there. And she became a very successful court painter. She had the patronage of the House of Medici, and she played a significant role in courtly culture of the city. She was the first woman accepted into the Academy of the Arts of Drawing. And she maintained good relations with the most respected artists of her time. So basically, people knew she was badass, right? She was acquainted with a little known gentleman named Galileo Galilei. Have you heard of him?
Yes, I have.
Yep, you. She wrote him. There's a letter that they found that she wrote to him in 1635, and it's possible that it may have inspired her depiction of the compass in a painting allegory of inclination. So this connection in Florence widened her education and exposure to the arts. Now, women were not educated. They were not taught to write, not taught to read. She then learned to write, learned to read, became familiar with musical and theatrical performances, which at the time was kind of unheard of. She basically, it helped her approach to depict lavish clothing in her painting. Like if you look at her paintings, it's like she learned a lot and she put all of that into her work in a way that was not unusual, but different. It was her own thing. In 1615, she received the attention of Michelangelo Buonarroti. It was the younger. It was his nephew. So it wasn't like Michelangelo, but I was like, psych, right? See what I did there? But it was, his nephew. And this is cool. A great nephew, I should say. So they were constructing the Casa Buonarroti. Sorry, something in my throat. To celebrate Michelangelo. And he asked Artemisia, along with other Florentine artists, to contribute a painting for the ceiling. At the time, she was very, very pregnant. So each artist was commissioned to present an allegory of a virtue associated with Michelangelo. So she was assigned allegory of inclination. So that was that thing I talked about earlier. She was paid 3 times more than any other artist participating in the series. She's the only woman I don't know why.
She must have been amazing.
She was amazing.
Undeniable.
Yeah, she was undeniable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still there on the Galleria ceiling on the second floor. And they think that every time she painted a woman, it was a self portrait, which was common because that's what you would do to practice.
Yeah.
So she had a lot of significant works in this period. She was very well respected. Her works are found in several major galleries, like today, the Uffizi in Florence is one of them. Her and her husband had 5 children, but only one survived into adulthood. 3 didn't see their first birthday, and 1 died at the age of 5. So Prudential is the daughter who did survive, but was also known as Palmyra, and so some scholars think maybe she had a 6th child, but they don't know. They know she did paint. Her mother did teach her to paint, but none of her daughter's paintings did anything. Maybe she's like, Mom, I'm not a painter, you know?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So in 2011, this is fun. Francesco Solinas discovered a collection of 36 letters dating from about 1616 to 1620 that tells us she had a passionate love affair with a wealthy Florentine nobleman named Francesco Maria Maringhi. I think that was right. Okay.
I think
maybe
so
not. Thank you. Okay. So her husband knew about this relationship, was fine with this relationship, and in the letters would write his own personal little note to the man. This was like a love letter. And he'd be like, let me see the love letter to him for a second. I want to tell him something. Now,
but Italians know how to love, huh? Okay.
I mean, right?
Is open marriage much? I mean, I guess like he provided some financial support. I was going to say he was a nobleman too, so that didn't hurt. Yeah. Like, it's like, don't be giving her away to some scrub. Ain't I, girl?
This man, okay, we can talk. Not a problem.
Yes.
Unfortunately, by 1620, the rumors of the affair started to spread. And there were also like, I don't know what they were, legal and financial problems. So they were like, let's go to Rome. So this was around when her 5-year-old had died and her father had left for Genoa. And then because her lover was in Rome, I think like being around him too much, like things, you know.
Yeah, it's
boiled
no
to a simmer to
love affair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but her career quickly took off and her money problems were pretty much solved. There's no mention of her husband after this time. So in 1630, she moved to Naples. She stayed in Naples through the end of her life. She had a brief, not that brief, a couple of years that she went to London because her father was in London, but also Charles I of England asked her to come. He was like a really enthusiastic collector, and he was like known for spending too much money on art and was like, you know, judged. And he was like, I don't care. So she worked with her father at the court for like a little bit. That
was a nice coin, as they say. I bet they were getting paid and living at the palace.
Come on, okay. Court. Yep. If you want me to
free
be
room and board and money, yes please.
I guess so. So in 1642, she went back to Naples, and they thought for a while that she died in 1652 or 53. But then they found that she was still accepting commissions in 1654. So they're speculating that she actually died in the plague that swept Naples in 1656.
Oh.
Which, you know, for those days is not like the worst, not the best.
No, but wash your hands, people. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
That's all we asking.
I just want to read this. I don't remember if this is a quote from something, but I found it. So if it is a quote from something, it's a quote from something. I didn't write this. In the patriarchal society with male-dominated values, women portrayed by Gentileschi appeared as unorthodox, transgressing the stereotypes of gender roles. Often violent scenes depicted by Gentileschi feature strong, vigorous women, warriors or victims, but never delicate, idealized, sensual figures. And I thought I would end it on that.
Well, yeah. I mean, her own experience, probably the experiences she'd heard from other women, and, but, I find it remarkable that as famous and successful as she was as an artist, that there's still some like muddledness around her death and like parts of her life, which I don't know, maybe the plague is the reason,
I mean, a lot of times
a lot of stuff was lost.
They just let you die and then picked up your body and threw it. I hashtag not historians. I don't know the details of that.
Yeah, maybe because it's also 1600s, but I'm fascinating. And it's also, it started out very rocky. I was just like, this is just tragic. And then when you're like, and then she goes on, like gets married and like has children and a successful career as an artist.
But you think it's so fascinating. She has on one end, like of her life, right, is trauma. And then babies dying. Before three of them, before they turn 1, then one who dies at 5, the trauma, the horror, right? And then she has this career. She never stops. And she makes good money off of it, like probably in and out, when someone she was getting financed. But like, it's so fascinating to me. And women just do it. They just fucking do it,
I mean, it's also, I think it's inspirational in the sense that when things are going really terrible and you're like, am I cursed? Just keep going because you never know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's, success and love and, security and art. So
art
that shows up in your life.
I like that.
Yeah. So, but thank you so much for sharing that message. Can you say her name one more time for me? In the Jared Leto accent?
Artemisia Gentileschi. I apologize.
Artemisia. Yeah. Well, on that note, that wraps it up for this latest episode of the Notorious Women podcast. Guys, remember to follow us on all the things.
Yes.
Also, please leave us a 5-star review. We really, really appreciate it. And if you would like to leave us a comment on YouTube, we promise that we'll check it more often. Please do that. If you also want to support the show through our Patreon, you can do that at patreon.com/notoriouswomen. That's patreon.com/notoriouswomen. You can give us a few shekels, as some people like to say. Moolah, dinero, we'll take it all.
We take it all in any language.
Any language and any denomination.
American dollars.
American dollars. Yeah. American. You can do that for as little as $2 a month, or you can do a one-time payment as well. We really appreciate it. And Miriam, how else can they support the show?
You can follow us on Instagram. It's super easy. It's Notorious Women Podcast on Instagram. We also have a TikTok page. Okay. It's, we need more people on that one. We need more people on both things, but like TikTok is new. She's new and she's trying. And that's also Notorious Women Podcast. But also our Gmail. If you want to email us, if you have any thoughts, please do. It's notoriouswmpod@gmail.com. Yeah.
Yes. Well, another great episode, my friend. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me.
I love going on journeys with you.
Two different ladies, Queen of Mean and Italian artistic genius.
Yeah. All in the same day. Okay.
Women are multitudes. They're not one thing. So
absolutely not.
Some are heroic, some are horrific, but they're all what? Notorious.
Women. Okay. Notorious. We should go. We really should.
Okay. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.